Hello, and welcome to another episode of Beastly Talks. I'm your host, Ian Helling, and I'm incredibly excited about this one because I have a very special guest with me. And after fucking up 3 attempted recordings before this, we finally managed to get sound and everything. So today I have with me my very good friend and mentor, Miss Kylie Bright from DogSquad Canine Services. How are you, my friend?
I'm wonderful. And yes, we've finally got volume on both sides.
Holy shit, what an ordeal. Fuck me.
Tech. I tell you what, the rage I went into the other day at myself, and this is where that age gap thing kicks in, where I'm just that 10 years too old to have the wherewithal to handle extended tech bullshit.
Yeah, it's funny that because I used to be a massive tech head. So like I would build my own computers and all that kind of stuff. And then I hit 35 and overnight I lost all ability in technology that I'd ever had. It just vanished overnight. And now I just yell and scream at my computer basically.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I avoid updating systems and that because if it's working, I don't fuck with it. It's just like, let's just leave it be. It's functional. I'm getting my work done. I can work on my website. I can get all the correspondence done. Don't touch it.
Yeah.
We went through the updating of the system.
Yeah, because Riverside wanted you to update and then everything just broke. So I'm sorry about that, but we finally got here.
Forced me into it. It forced me into it, which I get to the point where something forces me to change, and then I do.
Yeah. But it is true though. Like every time my phone updates, I spend half a day going, "Where the fuck is that? Where the fuck is this? Where is that gone?"
I don't get that aggravation in my life, so I just go into avoidance instead.
Yeah, too old for this shit.
That's what I muttered to myself. Yes.
Yeah. All right. So, Kylie, you were my teacher, like one of my main teachers at NDTF, and you are an amazing teacher. And afterwards, after I finished NDTF, I kind of just looked you up and I started harassing you, and I harassed you into being my friend, basically, over time.
Hey, we got along okay on the course. We had some tense moments, as I did with nearly every student there, because I was pushing you out of comfort zones. I was pushing you into patterns that might not have been as comfortable for you, or I was erasing prior learning, etc. And that was my job. That was my job to do. And you would have copped the hard edge of me at some stage.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I remember the telling.
It's done out of cruelty. It's never done out of meanness or bullying. It's just the intention of over a short period of time to get the job done. Yeah. And I only went back into that organisation to try to help the industry. So if I wasn't shaping people and getting it done, then why be there?
Yeah, exactly. And again, it's, one of the things that we talk so much about when we talk about dog training and puppy development, whatever it is stress is part of learning. And being pushed out of your comfort zone, being pushed into an uncomfortable state, and then like finding a way of fighting through that is so important because that's what builds resilience.
Yeah.
I love the phrase that J-Jack has, which is happiness is resistance overcome.
There you go.
It's so good, and it's from a massive study that he quoted at some point, but I can't remember exactly what it is now. But it's basically people who live in a lot of discomfort, and by that I mean they're not safe in the modern world. They're more like tribes, tribal people and that kind of stuff that live outside, that hunt their food, blah blah blah. They're the happiest people on the planet.
That go hungry sometimes.
Exactly. Yeah. Too much comfort makes you weak.
Threat that have moments where they could die.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Whereas here, like the most likely thing to die from is boredom.
I don't know. You've gone farm now. There's plenty of ways to kill yourself on farm. I can tell you. You do dumb stuff.
That is true. I have injured myself so much since we moved to the farm, and I have been yeeting snakes out of the pond, the ninth most venomous snake in the world. So yeah, I've definitely put myself out of comfort.
Yep, rural living will do that.
Exactly, exactly. And so, okay, so I know. So I should probably say this to everyone listening that last time I called you, we ended up having a 4 hour conversation on the phone. So I guess we'll see how long this podcast goes for. It might be a two-parter depending on what happens. But we do have a lot of good conversations. And so yeah, I guess just let's see where it goes. And if there's going to be some waffling in between, the listeners will just have to deal with that basically. But let's start by you telling us how you got into dog training, how you became a teacher at NDTF, and what you're doing now, basically. Let us know who Kylie Bright is and how DogSquad Canine Services came to be.
No worries. I guess the very first foray into learning dog training officially was back in my early teens when Dad brought home a puppy. Our old dog was aging out and he felt that he had to do the succession plan for me, which was awesome. So he came home with a very leggy, long-tailed German Shepherd puppy. We already had a dingo cross that I'd had since birth, as in my birth, not his. He was 2 when Dad brought him home from the army. So I grew up with a dingo cross, which taught me canine. He taught me very well about canine. Okay, he was a non-verbal kind of guy. He didn't bark. He just growled and bit. And he took me to school every day, et cetera, et cetera. So he taught me probably the basis of canine communication before I did any courses.
Yep.
At 14, I took this puppy to Southern Obedience. It was the most horrific experience, and I think I lasted 6 classes. And every time Dad would pick me up, I'd be in tears because the lady would just scream at us in the class and tell us we're all stupid. So I didn't last more than probably 6 classes, and me and the dog got along. Hey, we just lived together. We did what we did. He'd run next to the horse. I could teach him that he ran to the stirrup, et cetera, et cetera. So I sort of felt that the traditional classes weren't giving me what I wanted anyway. But I swore at that point that if I ended up as a dog trainer or working in the industry, that I would not teach people the way that that person did, that they wouldn't make people feel useless or stupid, or that their dog was the wrong dog or they were the wrong owner, et cetera, et cetera. So I sort of made that vow to myself then. So when I ended up with an opportunity through Boyd Hooper to become a dog trainer, to learn dog training, I kept that in the back of my mind. I always have. I'm 58 now and I still keep that in the back of my mind. Don't be that shrieking bitch at the start of the class who just belittles people.
Yeah.
Because that's not the way to teach. That's not the way to treat people or dogs.
But unfortunately, it is a very common story that I hear about a lot of trainers, both locally and internationally. They brag about how good they are. They talk shit about the people that have called them in to help them with their dogs. And why do you think people are such assholes in this industry?
Ego.
It is just.
I think I had ego beaten out of me by about 7. So I've never come into this with ego, and this is why I don't have profile. This is why I'm a hermit. This is why probably most people listening to me now on your podcast will go, who the fuck's this? You know what I mean? And they won't know me, and they'll probably never meet me or never know me. Okay, and I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that. I have my little patch of world that I live in. I have my extended dog family like you, who now and then, like once a year, we have this massive catch up, and then we live parallel in the industry. We help each other where we need to or can or able to catch up on the rare occasion. But we don't have to live in each other's pockets. We don't have to massage each other's egos. We don't have to compete against each other. We don't have to tear each other down. And that's how I live my life anyway. But like I said, I've worked. We've had this conversation before where I've worked under some very strong characters, some very controlling characters. You just have to find your smoother path underneath all the bullshit on top, and just keep getting the work done and keep getting progress, but you can't pop your head up, because if you pop your head up, you get it kicked in.
Yeah.
So that's where you end up being that underground kind of person, because it's safer.
Yep. Fair enough.
And that's how I've ended up as I am, as far as within the industry. I tootle along as that creek underground. I'm not the flashy thing on top that's putting out vids all the time. It sort of doesn't sit well with a 58-year-old either, because we didn't grow up with cameras in our face. We didn't grow up with that in our pocket. If you had a video recorder, then you had to organise someone who had the money to afford one to come down to training to video for you, those kind of things. So all the dumb shit I did was never recorded. It was awesome.
Yeah, no, that's a good way of looking at it, I think.
We could be full dickheads, and there was no evidence.
Yeah. Awesome. Perfect. All right, sorry, so I interrupted you there, but yeah, how continue on.
I ended up, I grew up with Boyd, and all the boys that I grew up with were either getting involved in the dog training, getting involved in the security industry with static dogs. So it was static security, where they'd be going out and they'd be working pubs and clubs at night. The dogs were getting live bites back in the 80s, before dangerous dog laws came in. So it was real-time based. There was yard dog situations where we did let out and lock up of yard dogs in car yards, boat yards, etc., like that. So we're around real-time dogs that were working for a living kind of thing. The traineeship, when NDTF first started, it was a concept, it was an idea, it was an ideology of that the industry needs information coming in all the time to update it, to improve it, to jam session it, to work out whether this will work or that will work, or how can we make this better, etc., etc. So it was an evolving kind of thing. You came in when it was under an RTO. It was locked. Like, it was set for that 10 years, which made it behind the ball by then as far as updated information, because it was locked into RTO. So RTO is great. It gives you national recognition and all the rest of it. It gives you the more valuable certificate on your wall, but you didn't have that extended information. So when I first started, it was called ADT, or Australian Dog Training. That's where I did my traineeship through. And that's where NDTF started. Excuse me for a second.
That's right.
There was this constant influx of, we had people like Gary Jackson come in, we had Steve Austin, we had, there was trainers from overseas. There was, here's my memory fade. Who's the guy that we had in? He was living in New Zealand now, semi-retired, and he came in and did a lecture for you guys. Robert Holmes.
Oh, yes.
So we had him way back then. You're going to have to put a pause on. I'm going to cough.
That's right.
I'm trying to desperately stop this tickle.
Yeah. I feel like I've been sick for so long now. I know exactly how you're feeling. So
yeah, I'm coming into it, I think.
Yeah.
So we had all these people come through as lecturers for us, really back in the early days, which was awesome. And Boyd was always harvesting information. Oh, I know my voice is going.
Yeah.
Harvesting information from every location worldwide. He was doing overseas trips. He was bringing gear back because we couldn't get bite suits or bite sleeves here. It was an overseas thing. It was America and Europe and places like that. So I was very, very lucky in one way and incredibly blessed to come into the industry in the 80s when things were real loosey-goosey, when there was very little regulation and we could do bite work, we could do development, we could do all of these things. We could just take whatever we wanted from whatever trainer or whatever ideology and bring it in and make it ours, So it meant then that I had opportunities that trainers don't now.
Yeah.
I had developmental time that people didn't have now. And when I went back into NDTF, I really felt for you guys because I thought you've got such a narrow little path ahead of you that we can legally give you.
Mm.
And that's where with Pepper, with Emmy, with the helper dogs, I tried to bring you some of the other realities that you're going to hit when you get out there.
Yeah, and it's kind of like you said with the RTO thing, like it's good because you get it nationally recognized, but it's also bad because it stagnates because it's such a big job to update everything. Yeah. Now I've got the coughs as well. Holy shit.
Until you're either locked in for 5 years or 3 years or 10 years or whatever you signed up for.
Yeah.
And it's a huge process. Like I was part of that mapping process before I left NDTF to get it redone. And then I think they went through it again after I left. So it's, there's the good and the bad and everything though, isn't there? But when we hit, I think it was 1995 that the Dangerous Dog Act came in. And what that did in Victoria was it took away our rights in so many ways. And none of us saw it coming. Like there'd been murmurs about it, but none of us saw it coming. And it came through from the purely positive movement back then. So what happened was bite work was banned overnight. So the entire business model changed overnight. We had to go into purely obedience. Pinch collars were lost. They tried to take the e-collars then, but they couldn't. They lost on that one, but they won on the pinch collars. There was so many regulations brought into it that it narrowed the industry down. And so many trainers who started in bite work and were using pinch collars, the next day they're bagging out the concept of bite work and pinch collars and, oh, no, we're magically purely positive because it had to be palatable to the industry. And I'm not going to name names because, some of these people are still alive. But there was this massive flip and then politics really started to get festery. It really started to get pointy. So I left ADT in 1995. A few of us trainers, we couldn't see how it was going to work from one business model to the other overnight. So we went out on our own and we went into just doing purely obedience, socialization, counter conditioning, rehabbing of aggression dogs. So we're still working in aggression, but the bite work wasn't the outlet. It was toy, it was whatever. So we sort of modified the system down to still suit all the pet dogs out there that were a bit messed up in the head and couldn't go to dog club because they were getting kicked out of dog club. And that was Alpha. So in the early days, it was pretty much ADT, but minus the bite work and a huge emphasis on making a livable dog that was safe, that had outlet, that was, fun to live with, that you could take anywhere and do anything with. You could go bush, you could go into the city, etc. That de-evolved to a certain extent because originally there was 5 partners in that business and then that one was shafted and then that one was shafted and then that one was sacked. Got down to 3 of us. And in 2001, I was booted. I was no longer welcome. So I left, and at the same time that was going on, I got to know a guy called Luke Hura, who was very heavy in the wrangling, in the animal wrangling industry in Australia.
Okay.
And ended up working for him, and then from there went out on my own from there. So I was full-time wrangling until 2006 when we moved up to here, and then I was part-time between cooking, consults and wrangling, just taking whatever shifts at anything that I could get, as you do when when you need money.
Yep.
And so I've sort of done that since, as far as I quit the cooking 11 years ago, won't step foot in another commercial kitchen. I think I ran out of estrogen. All right. I ran out of fucks. I ran out of tolerance for the bullshit of hospitality.
Yeah, been there, done that.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I mean, running your own kitchen is a bit of a high, and when it runs well and you've got a great team and it's all clicking and everyone's good to each other, awesome environment, awesome, done with it. So back into classes, consults, etc., etc. So the nudge behind that was Bridie Charlesworth. So I got a call via Brad Griggs, who said, I got a mate in Albury who needs a hand. She's heavily pregnant. She's working with some pretty spicy dogs. She doesn't want to put herself at risk. Can you give her a hand in that interim period between heavy pregnancy, birth, early, natal kind of time? So went up, met up with her. She hit me right in the guts of perimenopause. I was a pretty savage bitch then. Like, I was so intolerant of anyone's bullshit. She came out on a consult with me. I think I scared her. She said that I scared her. But anyway, there was an incident. I was working with a lovely lady with a male rot who'd had trouble where she was at her accommodation. The dog was kicking off, but the lady was under threat from the landlord. Okay, so there was some DV stuff going on. Mid-consult, kids have come across their little Mitsu dogs off leash and run straight into the Rottie's face. So I've sort of scruffed it as it's come in. I've flung it at the kid and I've given him an absolute face full of abuse, and then realised, and I've turned to the lady and said, I apologise for my language. I look across at Bridie and she looks like she's going to cry. All right. I looked at her and I went, hey, if you want me to work in your business, I'm sorry, but this is what it is. I will not tolerate that kind of stuff.
But again, it's like, if you are working with a potentially dangerous dog, a dog with some proper aggression issues.
It was a lovely rot. It was a lovely big rot,
Yeah, but again, like, you have dickheads like that just like, oh, my dog's friendly, so it's okay. Like, no, your dog's going to be dead in about 4 seconds if I don't kick him in the face. Like, it's just...
I just hoiked him. I just scruffed him. I caught him as he came through him. I just picked him up by the scruff and, sent it back to the child.
And I mean, you probably saved his life by doing that.
Yeah, and I said that to him. I said, listen, your dog was on a suicide mission. Please, I said, I don't know this dog well enough to know if he would have bitten it or not, but your dog was being very irresponsible and so are you, so put it on a lead. Well, the 18-year-old brother kicked off at me, so that's when it degenerated from there, because that's when it was, I think my inner Viking came out then, and there was very strong words said and some fairly strong body language. So they all scuttled off and I kept on with the consult and all was good. But that was the relationship where I started with Bridie, and I just took on her clients and I had no intentions of keeping them. It was like, all right, I'll babysit your business for this few months or whatever, and then you can have it back, because Albury's a 3-hour round trip for me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not next door. So, but we just clicked, all right? We just clicked. So she dragged me back into the industry. She said, don't keep cooking, come back as a dog trainer. And I said, well, the industry sucks ass. I'm done with it. I'm burnt with it. I've been shafted by so many different people in this industry. She goes, no, you're up here now. Come back. So I did. So quit the full-time cooking and came back full-time into the dogs instead of just doing the odd consult on the side kind of thing.
Yep.
Yeah,
awesome.
That was back then. So I do still do some wrangling. Well, I did. That last one over Christmas has done me. So there'll be no more of that.
So elaborate on what wrangling is.
All right. So you get some production company, give you a call. They say, got a job coming up that requires a duck or a dog or an alpaca or a donkey or whatever. And you go, okay, what are the dates? What's the location? What are the actions? What does the animal need to do? What is the environment that the animal is in? And then you put the calls out, and then you try to find an animal, and then you'll do a temperament assessment on it, and then you'll have to do prior training, and then you'll organise with the owner of said animal to turn up on that day, and then you'll work that animal for them. Or sometimes you collaborate, like I did with Chris White with Polo, who did a lot of work back in the 90s and the early 2000s. He was Cujo off Kath and Kim, for example. So I did a lot of work with Chris White, and it was always an absolute hoot of a day. We'd turn up, we'd have a lot of laughs. I get to play with her Rottweilers and just have an awesome day. And you got paid for it. Hey, bonus, you know what I mean? So sometimes you had collaborations with other trainers and owners where you'd have repeat sort of stuff. Other times you'd meet someone once and go, thank God I'm never taking a poodle job on again because I don't want to work with that person ever in my life, et cetera, et cetera. But it was many and varied. You might just have a photo shoot, or you might turn up and the dog's just standing around on lead, or it has to go from point A to point B, or it has to sit and it has to speak, or it has to do whatever. So some of the stuff was very basic, others was more involved. And I had my favourite dogs. Like Claudia Sayre's dog, Toby, he was a Kelpie cross. He was awesome. He was so highly trained. You could turn up to any job and just get him to do whatever they wanted. Just off the cuff kind of dog. Chris White's dogs were like that as well. You just adapt your training on set. Working with production's always tricky, especially being female. Working with the different animals, though, was awesome. Like, I don't regret doing the industry, but I'm now at the point where I just go, yeah, no, done.
I imagine it would be a lot of hard work and a lot of traveling and sleeping in different beds every night. And
incredibly stressful because you're responsible for that animal's life and welfare, and it doesn't stop. So that last shoot I did went for 6 weeks. There was it was 20 days on set for the dogs in that 6 weeks. And you're everywhere from the top of Falls Creek through to South Melbourne or Docklands. Country dogs.
And that movie has just come out, hasn't it?
Coming down on Thursday. So the world premiere is this week. That will be at MIF, so Melbourne International Film Festival.
Yeah, cool. And what's the name of the movie? We might as well promote it now.
Wilderness.
Wilderness. Yeah, cool.
Yeah. So,
nice.
But listen, it's a different aspect of dog training. It's a think on your feet, get it done. It's adapt and change, etc., etc. It's just a different bent of training. I mean, all the ones that you've done over your time in the industry, there's so many different avenues. You know, I've dabbled in the assistance dog avenue. I've dabbled in the bite work, the fostering, et cetera, et cetera. So there's so many different things you can do within. If you cook on one, you can just divert. It's a very broad industry.
Yeah. No, for sure. And I imagine it would be really interesting as well, because I don't know about you, but because I primarily, like almost entirely, work with reactive and aggressive dogs, it's kind of like most of what I do is just stopping things happening. And from time to time, it would be fun to go like, hey, how about we teach a dog to do something instead of just stopping things.
I diversify, you know. Some of the stuff I do is reactivity, is aggression, is predatory behavior that's inappropriate, like stop killing, whatever. And that's one little avenue. I deal with a lot of anxious dogs, a lot of separation anxiety and anxiety stuff. I deal with underutilized farm dogs that are being inappropriate because they haven't actually been taught how to use stock properly. So I send them to Hannah Barry and go, hey, go up and do her workshop, learn how to use your dog properly, give it an outlet. I get a broad base, but a lot of it is sort of same old in that it's creating communication and making a better partnership.
Yeah.
So that's my bread and butter, and it goes from high end, the dog wants to kill me, through to just an anxious bag of shit kind of dog.
Yeah.
And then you've got everything in the middle. If I'm lucky, excuse me, just picking up a Kenneth. If you're lucky,
there he is.
then you will get Someone who calls you and goes, oh, I'm picking up a dog in 2 months. I want to pre-book you and I want to do a home visit when we bring it home. And I'm like, oh my God, how good is that? In that you're actually starting the dog off from scratch.
Yeah.
Instead of getting that call at 18 months going, you're my last resort, you've got to fix it today or the dog's getting used. And it's like, oh God, yeah, no pressure. Thanks.
Yeah. Fuck, I do.
No pressure on the dog, no pressure on me, no pressure on you. You put yourself right into a corner now.
Yeah.
And your life's gone to shit. How about you have made this phone call 15 months ago?
Yeah. I do probably get about 2 of them a month, which is, hey, fix this dog today or it dies tomorrow. And again, like the only way to give that dog a fighting opportunity is to a certain degree, be unfair to it. Because you're like, hey, I need to be hard on you and I need to do it right here, right now. If not tomorrow, you aren't here.
That you are the dog's first no. Unequivocal no. And those dogs really I know, no, don't you? I just got a kiss on the chin for that.
I saw that.
That, you feel like a heel. You feel like an absolute arsehole because you look in that dog's eyes and the dog goes, what do you mean no? I just push harder and then I use aggression and then I get what I want. And it's like, not today, hun. And they go, but, and you're like, no, not today. And then the rage, then the I'm going to kill you, then the toys get thrown out of the pram and you've just got to ride it through and just get to the other side and go, okay, now we're going to have a jam session. Now we're going to learn stuff. Now we're going to do stuff. But each time you try to do that, I'm going to block it and stop it. And then we're going to have this discussion again and we're going to go round 2, round 3, round 4, whatever we have to do. And then I book the chiropractor and then he fixes it again.
Yeah.
Doesn't get too old for that shit. Wrestling bears is hard on the body.
Oh, absolutely.
And because I did such extensive bite work for 10 years solid, my body's ruined. Like my shoulders are torn to shit. I've got so much scar tissue in me that I don't have full mobility anymore and I never will, and it's just when you get ripped around by a very large dog, you have more tears, you have things that fall out of place and have to be realigned, and you have and you have an electric blanket and you have magnesium cream and you do all of those things and then you just sort of go into rehab for a few days and then you dust yourself off and get back into the next consult.
Yeah, exactly. And it is funny that, isn't it? Because there is a very big difference between battling a spoodle, a 5 kilo spoodle, and a 50 kilo rottie. Like that is a very big difference for sure.
Oh, huge. And the dedication behind the dog. Like some dogs, you just go, nope, and they go, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm going to go and cry for a bit.
Yeah, and then you go, it's all right, hum, we'll sit with your big feelings for a while and then we'll come forward and we'll do some more work and then you'll feel like a hero because you're going to succeed. And then other dogs, you look sideways at them and go, nope, and they go, you're dying today. and in that moment you go, oh, I'm going to have to book the chiro. And it's like there goes another $100. There's half the consult fee that's just gone into chiro. And people go, why do you keep doing it? It's like, because I really fucking hate cooking. You know what I mean? And
I really fucking love dogs.
Yeah. And I really want that dog to succeed. And if we have to have a bit of an argument about the concept of, no, I'm not dying today and you are going to actually think through this rather than just react to me. Once you get to the other side on a dog like that, it's phenomenal. You really have that thing where the dog goes, holy shit, these humans now make sense. I don't have to be defensive all the time. You actually make sense.
Mm.
Well, those really flat, sad dogs that you go in and the dog just goes, oh, another human. And you make a connection with that dog and the dog goes, oh, you're fun. Ooh, I like your visits. Ooh, what are we doing today kind of thing. And you go, oh, wow, I've just made another friend, Yeah. And every end of that spectrum of murder dogs and just sad dogs and friend dogs and fizzy pop dogs in the middle that are just going out of their brain because they're fed shit, their direction shit, they've got no outlet, and they pull little ADHD things in the middle. And then you give them all of the pathways, and all of a sudden that dog goes, "Ooh, I like learning. What can we do now?" And then you have a dog that comes forward and is productive, is part of the good part of the lifestyle instead of being the deficit all the time or the pain in the ass kind of thing.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And again, well, one thing that we do know for a fact is that dogs who are a pain in the ass, so to speak, like dogs who become reactive, who start barking and lunging on the leash,
Yep.
their world just gets smaller and smaller every day, and they become more and more frustrated and more unhappy.
Yep.
And the owners hate the dog, and the dog hates the owners. And when you're then able to step in and actually tell that dog, like, "Hey, we're gonna have a few short moments of some discomfort here."
Yep.
But then when we understand where the boundaries are, then we can actually start playing together. We can actually go for a walk together. We can do stuff. And like you said, one of my absolute favorite things is when, I remember this like 15-month-old shepherd. This is a couple of years back, but I'll never forget that job because I walked into the house and the owners are like, "Yeah, he barks at guests and blah, blah, blah." But this guy walked straight up and bit me in the thigh. That's how the session started. And I'm like, well, fuck me. All right. So I just I patched myself up real quick. But then two and a half hours later, when I left, the dog was crying at the door.
So do you actually get him? I get a bit embarrassed if I start bleeding. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
When you look down and you go, "I'm going to minimize this because the owner's already under stress and I'm just going to pretend it didn't happen, but I'm pretty sure I'm dripping on their floor."
Yeah. Look, I acknowledge it and then I just move on. I just say, it's part of the job. It happens from time to time. And, you get really good at not getting bitten as you work with more and more aggressive dogs. But from time to time, something fucks up. Someone drops a leash, a door isn't latched properly, something goes wrong, and you cop a little bit of a bite. It just is what it is.
Yep. And this is where I think we get better at being very definitive about, okay, when I come to your property, your dog will be in a locked pen. It will not be at large. And we're going to have a chat before your dog even comes out on lead. And when it comes out, I'm actually going to teach you how to hold that lead before you attach your dog to it. And you have all these protocols in place because at any of those points, that's when it's fucked up and you've got bit. You know what I mean? In your past.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
Bring in another protocol and another protocol. And when snake aversion has taught me, all right, I now have a dickhead clause that they must sign. And it is stipulated step by step by step as to what they are not going to do moving forward. And they must sign it before we start the session. And the things that have gone wrong, potentially horrifically wrong, in a training session doing snake aversion with live venomous snakes would blow your mind because you think, how can someone be so incredibly stupid? But people are. So you have to bring those protocols in and you have to spell things out to such a basic level. And they look at you sometimes and go, "But why can't he just do this?" And it's like, because it'll go to shit. We've just spent the last hour creating a new pathway for this dog, a new behavior, a new set of rules, a lower arousal level, a better level of manners and communication. And now you want to off-leash him and just send him in on my dog.
Yeah.
No.
It was like when Ben Gertz was down for his reactivity workshop, he was talking about this as well. Like one thing we do not deal with when we're dealing with dogs, and especially reactivity and aggression, is we don't rely on hope. We set everything up to be as controlled as possible and at least as least likely to fuck up as humanly possible.
That's how I run. That's how I run my business. To be honest, no matter what the end point is, be it assistance in the past, be it wrangling, be it snakes, be it just general obedience, be it a class, whatever. You're juggling like in a class situation. You're in public. You're juggling dickheads that are outside of your realm of control. You know what I mean? So it's got to the point where my training locations, one I hire, so it's a private location. The second one is bounded by two busy roads, and the traffic noise is a pain in the ass when you're trying to call a class. But I just stop and we wait for the truck to go past because no one off-leashes their dog there because there's no recall in those off-leash dogs. So no one off-leashes their dog. So we're safe there. But down by the river where I was working, I would have ended up in court because the number of loose dogs that would rush into the class and mob all my poor dogs that are coming through rehab from being attacked, etc. It was just setting all my clients' dogs back and my clients who have probably got PTSD from some of these bloody incidences. And it just got to the point where I went, I'm going to snot someone. I need to move locations. So I vetted out the entire town and came across, it's right in front of the Shire offices, actually. It's a bit cheeky. The rangers send me people, so it's okay. So sometimes you have to manage the environment before you even manage the person in front of you or your consult or your class or your own dogs, whatever. You have to dickhead-proof things now because of the entitlement in the human population is horrendous. And they're then allowing that sense of entitlement with their own dogs.
Yeah, it's actually quite mental.
Everyone else, at the detriment of everyone else, including their own dog.
Yeah, and I mean that can bring us into the conversation of it's okay, he's friendly, right? Where everyone goes like, my dog is good, and I'm like, yeah, well, this one wants to turn your dog into pet mints. So how about we get your dog the fuck out of here?
My comeback is always, no, he's not friendly. Your dog is an arsehole, and so are you. And when it's coming from a short, fat grey lady, then it's kind of startling to them because they don't expect me to swear at them because I look like a nana now.
Yeah.
But and I use that very directness that you know how direct I can be because you've been through my classes.
That's why I love you so much, Kylie.
Remember our Bertie O'Sheedy one?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Everyone had to learn to say no, and we had to learn how to say no more softly.
Yeah. Yeah, we got yelled at pretty badly by her.
Yeah, she did tell us to take it down a notch.
Yeah.
I love that lady. So, yeah, when you're dealing with that, I have lost all polite. Like I ran out of estrogen. All right, I am at that point in my life where I don't have to soften shit anymore, and I don't feel guilty for not softening shit. It's a beautiful place to live. You have to sometimes fling stuff back at people and go, hey, see this mirror? You're the dickhead in this mirror. This is why things are going to shit. And when I do get a client who has come through from being that, oh, but my dog's friendly, and you're coaching them into someone who's now got common sense and manners, it's a hard journey for some of them, especially the really older ones. Like they're in their 70s and they've had so many years of conditioning where, you know, I shouldn't say no, or I have to be polite, or I have to just allow it to happen. I can't advocate for myself. I can't stand up. Really hard to undo a lifetime of conditioning in some of the people.
Oh yes, 100%. And again,
I really feel for them.
And again, that's brings me to another. Like I know we kind of have a topic, and now we're just rambling. But I figured this was going to happen, so it's all right. We'll just roll with it. But but this is what you see. I can't tell you how many people have come to me and said, "Hey, I was the guy who had the friendly dog until I had a reactive one, and now I understand."
I had that exact conversation with a client who came back to me after 18 months away, and she'd gone the PP route. She'd gone the full medication route. My vet who trains with me with a German Shepherd, she wanted it spicier, not flatter, which was awesome. And she's a young vet. She had a chat to this lady and said, please go back and see Kylie because your meds are now at such a high level for this dog and the dog's getting worse. Please go back. She came back. The woman cried for probably the first 4 classes. She just was totally destabilized emotionally by the system that she'd come back from. They'd told her so many things. And this poor woman, like, if I could have got through a dog to hug her, I would have, and I'm not a hugger. Like, I really felt deeply for this woman's mental health. The dog came out, Mastiff Cross, up on its back legs, screaming like a bear, claw in the air, want to kill everyone and everything kind of thing. We had a chat after Saturday's class, and she's been coming consistently now for about 10 months just to the group class. Being a French dweller, she's got gradually closer and closer in and just coaching. We stood sort of a couple of metres away. The dog just sort of casually looked up at me, and we chatted for about 15, 20 minutes, and the dog didn't even roll an eye at me. The dog had been right in class that day, and you couldn't wipe the grin off this woman's face. And it was like, oh my God, they're both back. They're both back to what they were before the bullshit in the middle. But it's taken 10 months to undo the inappropriate reinforcement, the awful leash handling, the using treats inappropriately, the critical distance problems, the poor communication problems. It's taken so long to re-coach her back into. Now the dog's calm as buggery, and it's beautiful. So it really is. It's that full loop that they've done on that journey. And she said to me, she goes, you know what? I was that person. I was that person who would have just let my dog in on any other dog. And she goes, now I'm that paranoid person who is always looking around me in public because I don't want anyone sneaking up on me.
Yeah. Look, and I'm sure we're going to get into some talking about some forced retards, because that is my favorite topic and I hate them with all of my heart. But
chaos in the middle, like I was seeing the reality of what that system does to a person and to a dog, and it broke my heart.
And it's funny because they have to systematically destroy the person alongside the dog, because you will not believe the bullshit that they tell you until they've mentally eradicated you, essentially. And then, like you said, they keep rewarding the dog. Every time the dog blows up, they drag it away, they give it a treat, and they are just consistently reinforcing the bullshit. And then they jump on social media and try to use punishment on us for using actual tools and actual training methods. And I hope they all hop in a bus together and drive it off a cliff.
Well, I tell you what, the heartbreak that the misinformation creates and the indoctrination, but I really felt for this woman because she was part of that system where she was shamed into the structure of the whole thing. You know what I mean? And she was too scared to step outside of that. And it was a really big picture for me to see her go through this process and then understand how disabled she had become by the system. And that's when I started to hate a little bit, and that's when I started to get angry. And then I've worked through that as she's worked through it. And now I'm just sad about the situation, because I think, to me, that very far left or right or whatever you want to bloody call it, it's like a cult. It's like a religion where you are told how you must think, how you must behave, who you must be around, what you must do. And it means then that you then have control over those people. I don't want control over my clients. I want them to have control over their own destiny, their own life, and their own dog. I don't want them to need me day in, day out. I want them to just get their shit together and move on with their life. So I know that's a poor business model. I know, if I was putting them in for course after course after course and milking them for every cent they had and going, well, now I'm going to sell you this pill and this pill's going to cost you $120 a week. Mate, I'd have my mortgage paid off by now. But, I mean, I run a really shit business model. I want to enable people as fast as possible and get them up and working, and then they come to me as they need me. You know what I mean? Or if something goes pear-shaped, they have an off-leash attack again or something like that, and they need the class again for a while. Cool, come back. You know what I mean? It's a casual basis. It's cheap as chips. Come and go as you want. It's a shit business model. I'm telling you that right now.
It is. Being a good dog trainer is a terrible business model. It's just like clients just disappear left, right, and center.
Being ethical is not the way to riches.
No.
Being unethical is definitely the pathway to riches.
100%.
And that's where I just go, I'll stay poor and grow my own veg,
Yeah, exactly. Dude, at the end of the day, if the dog isn't having a good time, if the dog isn't feeling better about itself, then I have fucked up my training real bad.
Yeah. And I love being like, because I've come through from systems like ADT, you were incredibly regulated. Listen, me and Boyd used to have a conversation every week, and he'd say to me, "You're still using food. You shouldn't be using food. It's wrong." And I'd go, "I'm getting the results. Fuck off and leave me do it."
Yeah.
We would have that discussion every Sunday afternoon, like a meeting. And then Alpha was originally that I had full gamut of developing the puppy and young dog system, and I had and then it was narrowed until boot. So, and you've asked me about Alpha before, and I say I left it in 2001. All right, that was 25 years ago. I've heard a lot of negative feedback about the system, but it's not what it was back when it started. It's a very, very different unit of a thing now, and a very, very different driver behind it, and a very, very different endpoint for those dogs.
I have rehabilitated a lot of alpha dogs, and I would say that is probably the closest to a systematic abuse training system that we have in Victoria today, unfortunately.
Yep, and that breaks my heart because I work 6 jobs around the clock to create that business. Like I put all of my heart and soul into that business to get it up and running and create it. And what it's degenerated to is not even a shadow of what it was.
No.
But it is what it is.
And again, like hindsight is always 2020. And there's only so much you can do about it when the past has gone new past.
If you can't change the humans running it, then you can't change the outcome, and that's like that for any business or for any training regime. You know what I mean? If the person at the head of that business has such a heavy influence, then it is going to be what it is. So,
yep.
Anyway,
all right. I think this is the perfect point to get into the topic that I actually wanted to talk to you about. So, Kylie, how many times have someone told you we have tried everything and you find out all they've tried is gone to 2 different force-free trainers and no progress has been made?
Or they've watched a couple of YouTubes.
All that.
They've tried to apply it. It's gone horribly wrong for them because they've picked the wrong channel.
Yep.
Or they've had horrendous advice from their mother, their father, their auntie, their neighbour. They've relied on the information they had in their head from growing up with a certain breed, which they had no input with because they were a child. And they had no idea how much work went into that dog to make it as fantastic a dog as what they remember it as.
Yeah.
Et cetera, et cetera. So when I ask, like when I get that phone call and they say, "Oh, listen, it's gone horribly wrong and the dog's attacked 4 other dogs and now the ranger's on our doorstep and, my husband wants me to get the dog euthed, et cetera, et cetera." And I said, "Okay, what have you tried?" And that's what I start with. What have you tried? Who have you been to? What have you tried? What advice have you been given? Like, what baseline am I starting from that's in your head that says this should work? And then we'll unpick that. What education have you actually got in dog training? Have you been to a club yet? Have you worked under a trainer? What information have they given you? Has it worked for you? And that old thing of when you hear something back and you go, "How do I respond to this?" And you go, "So how's that working for you?"
Yeah.
And use that because instead of you going, "Oh, for fuck's sake," you go, "So how's that working for you?" And you say it politely because you want the feedback. You want to know what has worked and what has not so far. What have they tried? What have they reinforced? What have they tried on that dog and then inadvertently reinforced? What pathway is in that dog's head that goes, "Oh, shit, yeah, this is going to work for me."
Yeah.
I get the humans. This is going to work for me. And then I start into the real nitty gritty. So my list, I'll see if I can find my list. All right. My first question when I get past, okay, what's your education as far as dog training? I say births, deaths, marriages, moving house, moving out, new neighbours, renos. Are any of those things happening or have happened? Has there been a turning point in that dog's behaviour that has worsened it or bettered it? Or has there been a crux? Has there been a moment where everything was going fine and now it's gone to shit? And that's my first question. And I say, then has there been changes to the diet? Have you gone from having enough money to buy decent food through to now you're at povo level because your husband left and your dog's now on God knows what?
Shit.
Yeah, just shit. The feeding times. Like, are you filling your dog full of carbs and then trying to go to bed and the dog's shitting all through your lounge room and running up walls? Obviously your feeding times have an effect on behavior as far as sugar release. Your level of carb in that food has an effect on behavior because now you've turned it into an ADHD redheaded fool. Are you, could you maybe feed it in the morning and then give it a snack at night? Let it run around the backyard all day and get rid of all its energy. So feeding times, the content of the food is critical. You feed shit, you get shit.
Yeah.
If you're going to put shit in, you're going to get shit health, shit behavior, and shit outcomes. Literally shit everywhere.
Yeah, and especially on the topic of feeding, like this is something I want to get stuck into with you because I know you're very deep into this and I'm not. But generally what I say, hey, can we reduce the carbon, increase the fat? Because
increase protein.
Protein, yeah.
Slow release. Protein is a slow release energy. It provides clarity to the dog. The dog can think clearly when it's metabolizing protein. It cannot think clearly when it's metabolizing sugar. It's going to have peaks and crashes. It's going to have hangries. It's going to have intolerances, and it's going to have weird addictions. Really weird addictions.
Yeah.
And it's going to be its rest routine's going to be thrown out, and dogs must rest 16 hours a day. They recommend that dogs rest. So if it's not in a good rest cycle, if it's not in a good downtime cycle, if it's not in a good where it can just plateau out and hit neutral and stay in neutral, that dog's going to be reactive. It's going to be overstimulated. It's going to be intolerant. It's going to be very quick to bite, very quick to bark, very quick to destructive behavior. All of that comes back to what's going in the dog before we even start with training. You know what I mean? Before we even start with outlet or environment enrichment or any of that. If you poke shit in, you'll get shit out.
Yep.
And that's why I say to people, so if you fed your kid Macca's and Red Cordial for every meal, you would be medicating your child by the end of the week, wouldn't you? So why are so many dogs medicated? Because you're feeding them shit. And this is where I get frustrated, where they go, oh, but my vet said that this is the bag to use. I said, of course they are, because they're owned by that manufacturer and they're being told that they must provide this food because this is the duck's guts and this is what you should feed. Again, indoctrination. Again, only information within a very closed loop system.
Yeah, so, absolutely. And like you were saying there, like if you live a life of sugar and you never get told no in any way, form or shape, you're going to turn into an absolute asshole.
Look at the knifings and the stabbings that are happening in Melbourne. All right, I'm actually going down. And this is where the whole system has to be looked at. If you're going to make a change to the outcomes, you must look at the changes that are required to the foundations from the ground up. You know what I mean? And the other thing is, when was the dog's last health check? Has it got arthritis? Has it got an ear infection? Has it got skin issues from this shit food you've got it on? I know it'll have gut issues if you're feeding it shit food. Gut health, vagus nerve, mental health. They're all linked. So if you've got gut health issues from the shit you're feeding, you're going to have mental health issues. It's all interlinked. Licking at paws, resource guarding, bile vomit. All of these things are going to make for a miserable dog, which then comes out in behavior. I mean, have you carried an injury lately, say your back's gone on you? How intolerant are you of everything around you when you're in pain?
Yeah, you're furious 24/7.
You bite, don't you? You bite and you don't want anything to do with anyone and you don't want to be social. You're certainly not in a mindset to learn new shit or apply it or try. All you want to do is just hermit. Yeah.
And it's that pebble in your shoe that is just grinding into your heel 24/7, and you're just like, I can't fucking take it anymore.
So imagine a dog with a low-grade ear infection that's gone unnoticed, and then the kid grabs the dog by the ear, or the puppy grabs the dog by the ear, etc., and it kicks off. And they go, oh, he's never done that before. And it's like, well, maybe be more aware of your dog's health. Maybe be more aware of his behavior. If he's withdrawing, if he's not wanting to participate, get a health check done. This is where your vet comes into his own. Get a health check done.
And that, again, that's what I always say when people contact me and they go like, when people call me in a panic and they say like, hey, you have to help me. My dog suddenly bit me. I'm like, go to the vet. Go to the vet tomorrow. If there's nothing wrong with the dog, then we can have a conversation.
Yep. Yeah. And so many times they ring me back and go, oh, yeah, no, it was an ear infection. I don't need you. I'm like, no, cool. Make sure you use the treatment. If you have trouble getting the treatment done, give us a yell or give you a hand with it.
Yep.
And sometimes, it's not a trainer thing. It is a health thing. Or it's a shitty visitor. And I go, you know what? When that idiot's turning up on your doorstep, put the dog in the crate in the back room, shut the door, don't let the visitor near the dog. This is a dog issue. This is a dickhead visitor issue.
Or a child issue sometimes.
Well, I wasn't ageist there. It's anywhere from a toddler to a dickhead middle-aged man, you know what I mean? And this is where I just say, just separate the two. Because if your dog is cool for the rest of the week and nothing else aggravates it but that idiot, I'd think about maybe deleting that idiot from your life. Because if it's aggravating your dog, it's probably aggravating you.
Yeah.
or if they're playing power games, how some people come in and they want, oh, but I want to do this. And it's like, no, fuck off. And they don't handle it. And you're like, you never got no as a child, did you? That entitlement where they want to mess with your dog, either in your house or in public or et cetera, et cetera. You see a lot of the vids come up lately. I've had come up in the feed where people want to come into a dog's space and the dog's obviously asking for space and they push and they push and they push until the dog flares and then they say, you need to euthanize that dog. It's like, no, I know where the green needle needs to be. And it ain't the dog, and it's that conflict that humans go into when they get told no.
But again, it's such a lack of even basic understanding of dog body language. When people do the direct eye contact, they smile or bare their teeth at the dog. Yep. They walk directly towards the dog. They lean over the dog, dominance, posturing. And then they're like, he bit out of nowhere. And I'm like, dude, you asked him to fight you. You literally walked into the MMA ring and you said, hey, punch me in the face.
Listen, I've gone from working line sheps who was spicy, but they handled quite a lot of pressure before they went into defense. And listen, there was a lot of overlay training for Pepper to make her safe. Don't get me wrong. Like, there was an enormous amount of work put into her so she didn't do, inadvertent murder. But the rots have got a much lighter button for defense. You know what I mean? You front into a rot and you stare for too long without blinking or turning away or giving space. That dog's going to rumble and then that dog's going to roar.
Yep.
So being a rot owner again, I've sort of now got to educate public and go, don't stare. And they go, what? And they look at you and you go, you're staring at the dog. Don't stare. And they go, oh, was I? And I'm like, yep, you're about to get a big response. Turn your shoulder, release pressure. Okay, good. Dog's relaxed. Glance back, say hello, but don't front in and stare at my dog. I said, she's incredibly stable. She's incredibly social, but you're putting out every vibe that says you're a creep. Yeah. So stop being a creep and the dog won't respond inappropriately. I said, you need to learn this because this dog doesn't have a light trigger. If you do that to a dog with a light trigger, you're going to get bit. And you're going to wonder why you got bit because you don't understand what you're putting out. And some people have got quite offended by it. Others have gone, oh, thank you. Thank you. I didn't know why dogs responded like that.
Yeah. One of my favorite ways of explaining this to people, especially when they have kids and the kids try to crawl into the crate, etc. I'm like, this is that creepy guy on the bar that tries to push a woman into a stall, to close the door, to be a creep. You're like, that is literally what's happening here. And then when you tell people that, because most, especially female owners, have had that experience at some point. So they go like, oh, shit, yeah, you're right. I didn't see it that way till now.
I use, because that's a Chad Mackin one, isn't it?
Oh, possibly.
I use that for when they're shoving food in the dog's face and they're going, come on, you know you want it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I say, yeah. I said, think back to the 90s, hun. I said, remember that bar? Remember that guy who was just fondling you inappropriately and then laughing and then calling you a bitch when you slapped his hand? I said, this is the same scenario for your dog. I said, he doesn't want your cookie. It's like that drink that creep bought for you and now wants sex for that drink. It's not equating in the dog's head. Stick your cookie. I don't want you in my space. The same as what I said back in the 90s. Stick your drink. You're not getting in me pants. You know, it's exactly the same thing, isn't it? And it's that mistrust and it's that defensiveness and that writing off of them as a human that you automatically do when they get creepy with you. You just you're not worth my time, and I'm always going to be wary around you. I'm never going to trust you from this step forward.
And do you think that comes a little bit from this? Because this is something that I have seen a lot on social media, but I've seen it particularly a lot recently. And it's this idea that any good dog should put up with absolutely everything you do to them, and they should never show any kind of aggression. And I'm like,
right, let's go back to the 90s.
Yeah, exactly. But it's that
thing is exactly what women were told. You had to just take it.
Yeah.
You had to take it. You had to smile at their sick jokes. You had to smile as they invaded your space with their hands. You had to laugh it off if they groped you. You had to laugh it off if they pinned you to a wall. You had to forgive it if they raped you because you couldn't make waves. It's exactly the same stuff coming through into the dog world now. I've got a theory on this. And
all right, go.
It's going to sound so sexist, all right?
Go for it. I love controversy. Go for it.
It happens in women as well, but I've found it predominantly in men because there are so many laws now. Like when I started in my first apprenticeship, there was no protections, all right? I was literally told by my first boss, if you cause any trouble with the printers, you are the one who's going to be sacked, not them. So when I was getting pinned to a wall in the dark room with attempted rape, I had to fight them off and I couldn't go to the boss about it because I would have had my apprenticeship annulled and I would have been sacked. That's how bad it was in the 80s. Men now have so many overlays as far as law that keeps them in line. But there is no law to say that they can't pressure you via your dog, that they can't come into your dog's space and make trouble with your dog to have control over you. So I think a lot of the problem that we have, this sense of entitlement, this sense of pest that happens all the time, it's not actually about the dog. It's about an avenue of control that they can have over you emotionally. And I think when you have and you'll see them come up, that serial pest who's coming into the woman's space and she's saying, just go away, leave me alone. And they're coming in and baiting her and baiting her dog. That's as far as they can go, because if they grab her, then he's legally liable. They can do this, and I've had it happen to me over and over and over again, where they bait you and they try to control you and they try to make you fearful. They try to make you feel less. They try to put you down. They try to do all of those narcissistic things. It's just a dog is an opportunity to do that. Your dog in public is an opportunity to do that. And it's not everyone, okay? It's a particular personality type that likes to target either just women. And I've said this to a bloke who was doing it to me. I said, if I was a 6'4" bloke, there's no fucking way you'd be playing these games, is there? And he looked at me and he stepped back and I went, yep, there it is.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Now, fuck off. And I think a lot of it, and it comes through with some women as well, with their off-leash stuff. Oh, he's friendly. Oh, it's this, oh, he's that. How dare you touch my dog? And it's like, this is like a narcissistic control thing. This is a mental health issue in that dog's owner.
It's also back to that entitlement that you're talking about.
Yeah, power
like,
play.
My dog wants to be friends with your dogs, and I'm like, well, mine wants to kill yours. So how do you think this is going to play out?
who's right, who's wrong. Yeah, fuck off out of my space.
And again, if I'm not advocating for my dog and my dog minces that other dog, guess who gets in trouble?
And you know what? Because I've got a midget dog as well as the Rots, I am so fiercely protective of Kenneth. All right. I am so fiercely protective because he's so tiny. He's so vulnerable. Are we still there?
Yeah. I can still hear you, but your camera is frozen. That's fine. Oh, there we are. Now you're back. Yeah.
I wiggled my mouse.
Yeah. That's what she said.
So I'm really protective of Kenneth because he's 7 kilos and he's stumpy and he's little. But I can hoik him and I can do the under the arm thing and then turn around and give someone an absolute earful. But you never become complacent when you're in public with your dog, do you? You're always on alert. And it's so sad that it has to be that way. It really is sad that you're all. But stepping into a bar back in the day, I never got drunk. I never lost control. I never let my guard down, ever, because you were in an unsafe environment where someone would take advantage if you were, not quite right. So I think with our dogs, we're now at that point, like, a bar in the 80s and the 90s where you can't let your guard down because someone's going to try to take advantage. Someone's going to try to do whatever, whyever. And it's sad that it's got to that. It's really sad.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I don't have anything to add or subtract to that. I think that was well said. But yeah, it is sad, and it is. Like, I mean, for us, and obviously we as trainers, we tend to see the worst of the worst all the time, and you do become.
We're less naive. We see through shit that other people only see the surface of.
Yeah, absolutely. But also, it's like when you see this stuff all day, every day, you get to a point where you become so cynical. And I've had to pull myself up a couple of times because I started hating particular breeds of dogs because I see so many problems with them. And I just have to sit down and go you know what? It's not the dog's fault. They are a high drive, high power dog, and they kind of just don't have the direction that they need.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have to pull myself up on that. And every student that I've had in the past, I've always said try to be conscious of not becoming breedist, because that is you are gonna see the same dogs. You see the shepherds, you see the staffies, you see the rotties. These are the dogs that have issues most of the time, especially if it's aggression related issues, right? And you get to a point where you're like, dude, if I see another fucking German shepherd.
The Amstaffs up here.
Amstaffs as well, yeah.
Come down from Wodonga, they're backyard bred shit. There's so many oodles. I get a lot of working line shepherds sent to me, which I'm comfortable with because I've had so many come through this house with Vicpol. And it was I'm like, yeah, he's just being a shepherd. Yeah, he's going to show his teeth. Yeah, he's going to be reactive. He's going to have a light trigger. Okay, let's give him direction. Let's give him outlet for drive. Have you got an on and an off switch for his drive? And that's where my early days of bite work come through to every pet. I don't care if it's a noodle or a shepherd. That has bite on cue. That has a rouse word where it can bite this article, and then when it's told mine or out, then it must release the article straight away. That it only goes into that mode on cue, and then when it's told to come out, enough, etc., then it comes out. It has a very strong leave cue. I don't care if it's a noodle or a Rottweiler. It has a very strong leave cue. My stop words are quite powerful in that I want to stop a behaviour in its tracks. Then we can use its recall, because a recall is usually useless when a dog's in stupid state. So,
if they're going after a rabbit, for example.
That or another dog or a human or whatever, you know what I mean? That's not when your recall's going to work, is it? Because no one trains their recall to that level. No one's going to do the reps that are required. No one's going to use the equipment that's required to actually get that to a very relevant point like you would in Europe, where all the dogs are quite safe and they're very highly trained and they're very highly regulated. Here it's all loosey-goosey, you know what I mean? Anyone can breed a dog. Anyone can own a dog.
Now,
So,
that's an interesting thing, one with Europe, though, because a lot of the European countries, they do have very well-trained dogs and mostly well-bred dogs.
yep,
But all of that training, I think, is because they don't have access to the tools that we do, like electric collars, like obviously we can't use prong collars here in Victoria, but slip leads and that kind of stuff. So you have to do so much work from the early stages because there's no way you can fix it later if it all goes to shit.
yep,
And
yep,
I mean, that's great. But at the same time, like you said, it's much more controlled, much more regulated. You know, a dog barks at at a human in Norway, that dog gets put down.
yep.
Like, there's no behavior modification. It's like,
Your
no,
gene,
fuck this guy.
your gene pool becomes only stable dog, doesn't it?
Yeah, which is a good thing, but it's also, you know, unfair because it's to a certain extent killing of drive and destroying what the dog is. If every dog just sleeps on the couch all day and walks for 30 minutes around the block, then what is left of the actual dog?
Yep.
Now, this actually brings us on to another topic that I did want to talk about. And so this is a beautiful segue. So from early bite work, when you kind of started out to what some people call modern play in this day and age, like, are there any very noticeable changes? Like, how have you seen it develop, and would you say it's better or worse after the elimination of bite work? What's your opinion on play and I guess drive outlets that we have in this day and age?
Um, Listen, it's had to be sanitized. It just has. Um, I think what the little gap that I find when I'm teaching a dog to direct onto an article instead of a random um, is we used to have that little gap in the middle where if a dog alerted, a dog was taught to look for potential threat as a personal protection dog. So a dog would be scanning the environment and the dog would look. Now, if the handler then said, for example, the word watch, the dog was then gone into a higher state of alert. And the dog then knew that it could be a potential threat, that this could lead to a bite. So the dog was in a more heightened state, but not in drive. Watch meant stay calm, stay alert, but be aware. Then it was rouse, revere, whatever your word was. It might be dog sent into a hold and bark. The dog might be just sent in to bite. The dog might be stayed in watch, and then until there was an actual physical threat to the handler or the dog, then the dog could react independently because the threat was brought to them. I think that's the only little gap that I can really see, in that the dog was allowed to be autonomous in that moment, and the dog was allowed to make an educated choice. And it was an enormous amount of training that the dog made that choice as to, is this actually a legitimate threat? And that there was an enormous amount of pressure put into these dogs where you could have a fit in front of them, be yelling, screaming, waving your arms, and the dog would just sort of lean sideways and look past you and go, yeah, he's been a dick, but it's not actually a threat.
Mm.
So that gap in the middle, I think, is the only gap that we have, in that we're not as savvy at conditioning the dog. And that's something I bring into classes, in that Kenneth might be wearing a dinosaur suit, all right, but there's balls on the ground, that Banshee might be working a herding ball in the middle of the class, etc., etc. That there's shit going down, there's shit going on, there's energy getting put out, there's weirdness going on, and that the dog has to be neutral throughout, and that the dog has to focus on the handle and just rouse the toy, that he can't redirect down at Kenny, that he can't redirect at Banshee on her ball, etc., etc. So I think what gets missed in some of the, unless I don't watch enough of the YouTube shit to really know, all right? But I think just that middle bit where the dog is taught to make good choices and to not be overwhelmed by alternate routes of, you know, you know what I mean? That proofing needs to happen better for a lot of dogs that have drive, because, you know, if there's an awesome party going over there and you're boring as batshit with your little toy here, I mean, what's the logical choice for the dog? You know what I mean? So people learning to play well with their dogs is something that I do a lot of coaching in my class as well, so that they do well for their dog, that I have a bag full of gear, I have flirts, I have bite tubes, I have all of those things to try to encourage them to how to party with your dog well, how to be that sexy squirrel or whatever,
Yeah.
use.
Yeah.
But the dog can look across and go, well, he seems to be having more fun than me, but you can go, leave, and that the dog russet, and that the dog can come back onto you and understand that's not my party. That's not my circus. That's not my monkeys. I'd like to see more of that come through. But again, it might be happening worldwide, and I'm just not deep diving into the YouTube shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and look, there's two things I want to touch on there of what you talked about, and the first one is autonomy. So I've talked a lot about autonomy on this show and with other trainers, and too many people are trying to squash their dog with obedience. They think obedience is control.
Just one offerance. Yep.
Yeah, the dog never gets to go off leash, never gets to choose what they want to do. It's just, and this is why I hate people who say if you train the sit well enough, the reactivity will go away. No, all you're doing is creating a pressure cooker that is going to blow 10 times harder, albeit maybe a little bit later than normal, but it's going to blow 10 times harder. And so that giving the dog that opportunity to go like, hey, let me show you who I am, and then we can start doing things together based on what you like.
Yep. That sit in position, there's a couple of instances where it'll come through as prior learning from the handler, a new handler, you know what I mean? You'll get a new one is the sit and hold position, drool, shake, and then get sent in on a bowl of food. I hate that. I fucking hate it. It grinds my gears because we're building anticipation, we're building an enormous load of emotion, and then we're sending the dog in on drive on food.
Yeah.
It's just, that's how you build resource guarding. That's how you build inter-dog aggression in your household. That's how you build a child getting bit in your household. It's the exact route to really fuck a dog up. So that's an old school thing that I just go, nah, we'll scatter feed, we'll feed from hand, we'll get the dog working, we'll do all of these other protocols, but we're not doing that shit anymore. And the other is, say a bike path and you've got bikes whizzing past and the dog's arousal level's getting worse and worse and worse. Why is it getting worse? Because you were told to sit at the edge of the path, force the dog into that position, force the dog into holding that position while a bike whizzes past his nose. Pressure cooker, you know what I mean? And it drives me nuts because I go, okay, let's use critical distance. Let's use a stationary bike first. Let's counter condition properly. Let's not sensitize. Let's desensitize. Let's not flood the dog, etc. And I have to go through all those protocols with them. What I do teach in class, I don't know if anyone else does it. Again, I'm a fucking hermit. But I don't teach the left-hand heel as the stalwart. Like I want the dog equally to work on either side of you, so that if the dog is, say you are comfortable with the dog on the right and some shithead comes in on your right, that the dog will look at you and come round to the left. It's autonomous. It can create its own space. It can use your ass as a blocker. It can feel safer. That it can actually put pressure in that lead and go further out to that left to get away from dickhead here. That it can stay under threshold by being autonomous. And that's something that I teach, well, one is part of the snake aversion, but it's a little bit more extreme. But definitely when you're just street walking, when you're doing stuff, that you don't have to stay there and load your dog up until it explodes. No, you drift off to the left, give the person a wave, keep walking. You don't have to pressure cook your dog. You don't have to be polite to some random. That your dog is taught that it can be in control of this situation and it can relieve these big feelings by creating distance rather than erupting and using defense.
100%.
And that is a huge part of our classes, in that this is just the baseline of working in a group session where you look ahead and you see that dog loading, that you do an about turn or you do a diagonal and you give that poor dog space. And that you're aware of the emotional state of every dog and handler in that class, that you're not just you know what I mean, that you are responsible for everyone's mental health in that class. So again,
And one thing that I find is so, yeah.
because there's some people I never invite in my group classes
Yep.
because I know they're going to be that asshole who's going to deliberately make that dog erupt. You know what
Yep.
I mean? Who's going to make my other people feel unsafe. They're the people who get told, nope, group class isn't for you. I'll continue with consults, but group class isn't for you.
Yeah. No, and again, back to what you were talking about there, the dog having the option to move away if they're feeling uncomfortable.
Lead if they need to. That's the only time I allow pull. All right.
Yeah, exactly.
Want to move away, you go.
Yep. But what's so interesting about that versus, heavy kind of bouts of obedience to try and crush the dog into tolerating something is with the autonomy very often comes curiosity. And the curiosity can actually lead to friendliness over time.
And tolerance because the dog has a choice. Like if you're forced into a position, like within a job, I'm sure you've had jobs like this.
Where too many.
You're feeling your spirit getting crushed underfoot day in, day out, and that you can't advocate for yourself. You can't release pressure until you turn to alcohol or yelling at your missus or whatever. It erupts somewhere because it has to, or you're going to go full Breaking Bad, aren't you? So it's a matter of why do that to a dog? Like I believe, he should know sit, drop, stand, come, heel, side, whatever, leave, definitely. Like they need that structure, they need that information and that skill set. But you got to read the room. When is it appropriate to use it, and when is it appropriate to? And I just say to people, there's no shame in bailing. If that dickhead, you can't change dickhead over there. All right, you are not the dickhead whisperer. Just bail. Just create space. Get on with your day. Leave dickhead in the park because we can't change that. That is just going to frustrate you. It's going to make you upset. It's going to make you doubt yourself. It's going to make you doubt your dog. Your dog's going to doubt you. It's just toxic shit. Leave it in the park. Move on. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. And it's like you said, you're not the dickhead whisperer, right? You just, and I guess that's one thing. And this brings me on to another topic that I wanted to talk about.
No, I have so many fucks left in my tank, and I will not spend it on someone who cannot be changed. Yeah.
And so this comes back to, I need to rant a little bit about the force-free people again because they fucking make me so angry. But I think force-free people hate what dogs are. They hate that dogs have drive, that they have arousal, that they have desires, and they try to crush that out of them by boring them to death with treats.
Does it scare them? Like, is it a fear-based thing?
I think it is because I think they know if they rouse a dog into play, if the over-arousal gets out of control and maybe the dog lets go of the tug and tries to bite the person, which can happen, hand-led redirection, that kind of stuff. They know that they have no means of bringing that dog back out.
Yep.
When you have no form of pressure, when you have no electric collars, when you have no slip leads to kind of say to the dog, hey, bring it back down, like this is too far, right? We need to learn to regulate ourselves a little bit. Then yeah, I absolutely think it is a certain level of fear. And so what they do is they put the dog into a drop and they drip feed them treats every 5 seconds in order to try and board the dog out of reactivity. And that does not fix the problem. It can put a lid on it for a short period of time, the same way that heavy amounts of punishment can subdue a behavior for a couple of weeks.
And this is why some breeds fail. The working line shepherd, you will fail at that because it'll turn its face away and go, don't put that food in my face.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not driven by food. You bring a ball out, oh man, that focus comes so sharp. Yes, you'll probably bleed, but the focus will be so sharp.
And that's what's so interesting.
The dog in front of you must tell you what the reinforcer is.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what frustrates me so much because like I'm using less and less food in my training. Food is becoming something that I sometimes bring, but not always, because I'm always trying to reinforce the dog with play whenever I can, because it builds a better relationship. It gives them outlets. It gives us the opportunity to teach the dog some impulse and arousal control. But Isn't it funny that the people who call themselves the experts of positive reinforcement very often stay away from play, which is, in my opinion, the best positive reinforcement that you can use on a dog?
I use the Holy Trinity, and I am as atheist as they come. It is pat, physical touch, social interaction, smiling, laughing, touching, using good boy, well done, love your work, aren't you sexy, whatever you're going to say to your dog.
Yep.
Food. Yep. Hey, if you can get them to use their calorie intake, awesome. They probably won't because they get guilted into feeding them. So hence why I make treats on top and the very high level of appetitive. So they will cut through even a well-fed dog, and you will at least get behaviour in the moment so you can teach a position or teach a concept via luring.
Mm-hmm.
You can reinforce, if you're not luring, but you can reinforce another behaviour, but play. So those three to me are equally important in that it's like the operancy wheel. Okay, what is the dog presenting you in that moment? What does that dog require from you to reinforce that behavior, to cement that thought in the dog's head that goes, oh, I'm onto it. So when I have the gear bag there in the middle of class, so I see things get a little bit ratty. I see the dog's just starting to cook, just starting to slide out from under being able to hold. And I go, righto, break, grab a toy, party hard. The dogs will all be fanging away on toy, tugging, flirting, doing whatever. And I give them a good 5 minutes of that. And then I go, okay, pop the toy over your shoulder. Now go back into your sit, you drop, you stand, whatever. And then when you release the dog, release into play instead of into food. And I'll alternate between, and then I'll go, put the toy away, put the food away. When you release the dog this time, we're just going into happy hands. We're going into social, until I've taught them to do all three. And then I go, make your choice. Get out there, make your choice. And then they start to read the dog, and the dog starts to be able to communicate more clearly. And he'll look across at the other dog on a tug, and he's only got food, and you go, hey, bitch, I want the tug, The tug will come out, and the dog will go, yeah, that's what I wanted. That's what I needed in this moment to bring my arousal level down and to get my focus back. And that's what I love about my classes now, because I've got no other prick over the top of me telling me how I should do it. I can bring in sniffy walks. I can bring in nose works. I can bring in target odor. I can bring in tug. I can bring in anything I want to into my classes, because it's just me. It's just my little pissant operation where I can take from all of these different disciples. So when we do a town walk, I bring assistance dog training into it. Okay, tuck your dogs under the seat between your feet. Make sure it's out of through traffic. Or whatever comes into it, that we apply everything we learn in class to a town situation where you've got randoms coming out of doorways. You might have a tweaker, you might have whatever going on, angry oodle under the table, etc. How to negotiate your environment with the least conflict. And that's my baseline now for my classes. And it doesn't matter if the dog comes in up on its feet wanting to kill me, or if it's shaking and pissing in the corner, or everything in between. They all get the same process, but they all end up meeting in the middle. We build brave in that one. We build brave in the reactive one as well, but we also cap the drive and give the drive direction. Yeah.
100%.
And we use what tools we need. So quite a lot of my more, I won't say elderly, because they're very fit people, even though they're in their 70s, they're probably bloody fitter than me, you know what I mean? They've got more able knees than me. So those working line shepherds are on e-collar.
Yep.
All right. So they might have a halter on, they might have a slip on, but they've got their e-collar as well. So if the dog goes over threshold, they just hit the vibrate button. The dog looks at them and smirks and goes, oh, yeah, I've got my collar on today. And then you know what I mean? Yep. And it means then that someone who normally would not be able to handle a 45-kilo solid lump of shepherd has got a full existence with that dog. That dog is not left in the backyard. That dog goes on holidays. That dog goes everywhere with them. Dog improves because it's going out all the time and doing stuff.
Yeah.
And if that takes an e-collar, that takes an e-collar. Or the ones up Mount Beauty Way where they've got a Vizsla and they want it off leash in the bush while they're mountain biking.
Yeah.
Seems like an impossible dream. E-collar, no.
Yeah.
You can have a dog 5K run, 10K run, off leash, through the bush, avoiding deer, avoiding snakes, avoiding roos, stopping and propping, coming back when told, having an absolute shit ton of fun for his entire existence because he's wearing an e-collar.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and they might not even take the controller half the time. You know what I mean? The dog just knows now. The dog knows his boundary. He knows what he can and can't do. He's just out there for a good run, you know, and they don't push the boundaries anymore because the boundaries have been set consistently.
Yeah.
You know?
No, 100%. And that is, you know, being locked away, being taken away from everything that's natural to you. Nothing's going to create frustration like that. Nothing's going to create.
To me, that is the baseline of cruelty. That is the most massive P negative you can give to the dog, but the dog doesn't understand why it's getting P negative.
Yeah.
There is no association to the punisher. And it massive punisher.
Oh, massive, massive. And again, this comes back to, I reckon, if we could speak to dogs, 99% of dogs would say, I'd rather be punched in the face once than be locked in a box for an hour.
Yep.
Right? Just tell me what I did wrong so we can move on with it. Don't take me away. Don't remove me from where I want to be. Don't do all of those things to me.
Like, they're here for such a short time.
Yeah.
For a physically able, fit dog that can run, what have they got? Maximum 10 years, even a large breed, you know?
Something like that, yeah.
You know, maybe 14, 15 in a small breed.
Mm.
That's a blink of the eye.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So why not give them the best life they can have? But to have the best life, you need strong boundaries. You need impulse control. You need to know when not to be an arsehole. You need to know, you know, when to roll and when to fold them.
Yeah.
To leave a situation because you're going to be an arsehole if you stay. You know, that kind of thing. Yeah.
And actually, this segues very nicely into something else I wanted to talk about. So, Kylie, what would you say are some of the biggest mistakes people make when they're getting a new puppy? Where does puppy training fall apart? Where does the dog become a problem? Is it at picking the wrong breed? Is it not crate training them? Is it not punishing them? Like, where do things fall apart mostly in your opinion?
Poor choice of genetics. And now you've got epigenetics coming through as well. So you would look at the grandparents, you know, if you really want to get nitty gritty. Or if you come through to just the more normal pet baseline, why are you getting the dog? Is it because the kids nagged you into it? Why are you getting a noodle? Because it looks cute? Have you got the money to actually groom that bastard every 6 weeks and send it to a clipper? Have you actually met the parents? Do you know the parents? What are the raising? What is the handling of that dog? Are you actually going to just let the dog grow out of bullshit? Or are you going to actually set up that structure from the second that dog's feet hit your property? You know, if you've got structure, if you've got crate training, if you've got a leash, for God's sake, put it on a bloody leash. Don't let it just follow through on whimsies. Have you got structured feed? Have you investigated what diet you're going to feed this dog, or are you just going to feed the shit that the breeder told you to? Have you educated your children as far as appropriate handling of a dog and management of a dog, that it's not a toy, that it is a sentient being? Have you discussed it with your partner that now there's probably going to be shit on your floor and that there's going to be disrupted sleep patterns, that there's going to be bitten children and Band-Aids and bleeding and crying and whining and manipulation from said, you know, small children, that there's going to be disruption to your holidays, that it's now going to cost you to put a dog in kennels or get a pet sitter or, you know, whatever. You train that dog from the second it hits your property. You handle it, you condition it, you set your boundaries, you set your cues. And that's where I love those clients that give me a ring before they've even picked the dog up. And we've already pre-booked it, you know what I mean? I'm going to turn up to their joint and I'm going to go through that whole gritty list with them as far as, okay, how to puppy-proof the home, how to puppy-proof your family, how to condition, how to reinforce, how to interrupt, how to do a timeout and not feel guilt, how to set boundaries, how to redirect biting, how to direct play onto article and not onto hands, how to not have your son play stupid slapsy games with this dog and teach it to do, ridiculous things and then cry about it later. It's human training. It's all human training. The dog is a piece of piss.
Yep.
And it's creating those pathways to win and to avoid bullshit. If you can head off the chasey games and the stuff that just, it sets the dog up to fail, that instead of it recalling, it runs away, that it doesn't listen, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, I take dogs from 10 weeks. You know what I mean? I take them from the second vax, and some go, oh, no, I'm waiting for 16. And I'm like, well, for Christ's sake, do environmental. At least have it under your arm and walk the streets with it. Have it in a crate. Have it in the car. Take it everywhere. Set up an obstacle course in your backyard. Do surfaces. Do sounds. Do scents. Do sights. Do whatever you can. Use your blower. Use your vac. Use all of this in that first 16 weeks. The most massive hole in every dog's development is enviro. Enviro and good, sound, calm handling.
Yeah, I agree. The lack of exposure is such a destructive nature or force for the dog.
It destroys them. It destroys their chances at life. And people don't realize how many hours of the week that sucks up in that first 8 weeks that you've got them, like how much work needs to be done. And that's where with Tommy, like I was so blessed because Kay and Craig did an enormous amount of work with that litter, and there was 11 dogs in that litter. So that's 11 times the work, They did such a he just strolled in this house and went, g'day, I'm home.
Yeah.
He strolled into his first dog class and went, oh, g'day. There's been very few hiccups as of, and he's nearly 7 months. Whereas Banshee got called Banshee because she screamed for the first 7 days of her crate training. Like I'm talking insane screaming for 6 hours.
Yeah.
Like otherworldly. It was like a hellhole had opened in our lounge room. The noises that came out of that dog were terrifying. We all hid in the bedroom. Like all of the dogs and us, we hid in the bedroom at night and put a towel under the door. Like it was terrifying.
So why do you think that happened with her? Was it just a personality thing?
She'd come from a litter of 11 as well. So she's come from all that company to none. Now, Bert was originally sleeping across the front of her crate for her, but he got terrified of the noise and came into the bedroom with us. Like she drove everyone away with that noise. And eventually by day 6, she just hiccuped and went to sleep. And I'm like, now Bert will sleep across the front of your crate and keep you company, But he was scared of her. We were all, the noise was just not what I've ever heard come out of a dog. And I'd had 6 Staffords, you would have thought I'd knew howling and yowling by then. But, yeah, I think it's that early conditioning. It's that early enviro. And if your breeder is savvy and does a lot of handling, then you do well. I've had a dog come through called Rugsy, and I adore this dog because she is a real stink-eyed coolie, all right? She is a real fuck you kind of girl. And she was bred up the backyard of the farm, never handled by a human, and then handed to the first owner at 8 weeks. That dog was feral. It had never worn a collar, never been picked up or handled by a human. It was a feral dog. And that first consult, we had to do indoors and off-leash because if I put a lead on it, it thrashed like a crocodile and screamed and pissed. And I'm like, I can't put even a leash pressure on this dog. So she did such dedicated work with that dog for the first 12 months that Rugsy is an awesome dog now. Like she's always got limitations. Don't pat her unless she asks for it. And if she asks for it, be quick and then stop.
Yeah.
I was in you. But she's now got a little Jack Russell puppy and she's been the best auntie, you know what I mean? And she's such a stable dog. She's as good as what she could be with the genetics she had and the start she had. You know what I mean? And that's kudos to the owners. Absolutely kudos to the owners, because I had that strong talk with her and said, listen, you bought a feral dog. Your road ahead is going to be rocky. There's going to be bites. There's going to be band-aids. You've got a small girl. There's going to be times where you're going to doubt yourself. And that's when you use your crate and you pop it in the crate and you go have a cup of tea and a cry, and then you come back and you try again. Yep. She followed through on that dog. Like, there was at one stage, that dog, being a farm dog, was going to get a bullet. But they pushed through and they got a good dog out of it. But there's been, ups and downs.
And I remember this from when I was fostering as well, because we were fostering, Kelpies, Border Collies, just farm working dogs basically, and there were quite a few like seizures that we got dogs through, where there was like 120 dogs on the property. None of them had ever seen a car or a human before, because
they don't shoot.
Yeah, some old. I particularly remember this one case where an elderly man who actually used to be really good with dogs and was a dog breeder. He was going to start a business, but unfortunately, he fell into a pretty steep hole of dementia. And so the dogs just bred freely for over 2 years or something. And we got a couple of like 18-month-old dogs, and they were like, we had to capture them. We had to corner them and like throw blankets over them just to try and get them into the crate. Like, it was an absolute nightmare.
Have you ever had the camp dogs come through? I sometimes get camp dogs here, and they really should have been left in camp. I've met a couple of ones, but there's been ones that have come through into rescue and then just living under people's house, that they growl at them as they go.
Yeah, I've had a couple of camp dogs. Yeah. I haven't had any camp dogs in like foster care or anything like that, but I've worked with a couple, and yeah, they are spicy dogs.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, and I thank that dingo that raised me, in that there's this very light pressure that is required to get a big response out of a dog like that.
Oh, absolutely.
They create a lot of space around themselves quite definitively.
Yeah. No, 100%. And that again, I think the whole like pressure-based training, people freak out about that because they think it's going to be dog daddies swinging dogs on prong collars and slamming them into the ground. And I'm like, no, it's barely touching the leash and getting the dog to follow. Like, that's all that it is.
I got vetted out. When you get the phone calls and you're getting vetted out. And the lady said, oh, I'm having trouble with my blue heeler, and, she's got a bite history. And I'm like, yeah, no worries. Where have you been? What have you tried? Oh, well, I've been to this purely positive trainer. I'm like, yeah, cool. How's it working for you? And all that. And she said, oh, well, I won't be using a prong collar. And I thought, that came out left of centre. And I just went really quiet, and I didn't even address it. And I just kept talking along the train of thought that we were on before she threw that in. And I thought, no, I'm going to have to circle back to this. I said, so what have you been told about balanced trainers? I said, because what I hear as feedback is that we're all dog beaters, that because we're not purely positive, that we must kick a dog to get obedience, that, that we use all these awful tools, and that we thrash a dog into, submission. And there was silence. And I thought, yeah, right. And I said, it's not the case. I said, that's a very extremist point of view and very unfair. And I said, and it's not based in fact. I said, this industry has some arseholes in it, but I said, as a balanced trainer, I think they're an arsehole too. I said, we're all in agreement that there are arseholes in this industry that shouldn't be near an animal, shouldn't be near another human, shouldn't actually be drawing oxygen, to be honest. But, but they're an extremist. And I said, and there's extremists at the other end that are euthanizing and drugging dogs that actually just needed decent exercise and decent diet. So, we have extremists in every industry. And I said, ours just happened to have a really, vocal talking point because of social media. They get it out there more. Remember the old evangelists in America?
Oh, yeah. Oh, shit, yeah. The Bible bashers, yeah.
Yeah, they used to just have meetings. Imagine if the evangelistic dog trainers just had to go to a meeting now, that they couldn't whack it out across the airwaves.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, they would have been a lot quieter in my head if that was the case.
Yeah, and it would have minimized their impact, wouldn't it?
Oh, 100%. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So I feel like we're rambling a bit. So now I want to get into another thing that you talked about
Yep.
there with medication. So we do know that there is an out of control amount of dogs being medicated in this day and age. They're medicated for anxiety, they're medicated for aggression, they're medicated for fucking anything that you can think of. So from when you started out, when I presume there wasn't a whole lot of medication, if any, going around at that point. So at what point did you see the shift and where did it fall apart? Where did everything start going down the hill? And at what point did medicating a dog become the ultimate solution instead of training?
Listen, it was always there. They always had Clomicalm. That was
Yep.
the sort of the main one. Then they brought the Prozacs in, and then all the other stuff came in, the Gabbies and all of that. All of the human stuff started drifting across into dog stuff. I think it was just a gradual groundswell as dogs didn't conform to the new training methodologies. So rather than using a tool or a technique, they brought in medication to try to level the playing field.
Yep.
To manage, to make it easy. But then that same groundswell happened prior to that with human children. You know, everything was on Ritalin and all the rest of it. Instead of addressing its shit diet and it not having a sport to play, that you stick, a pill in. And listen, I've been that medication route myself, and I needed it at that point, and it did what it needed to do, and then I moved forward and did the wean off and all the rest of it. So sometimes dogs are so fucked up. They are so messed with. They have no pathway forward. And like I said, I've personally been there. So if you need meds at that point, then you use them. But alongside that, you get your psychiatry, you get your outlets, you delete arseholes from your life, you change jobs or you change careers. You do whatever you need to do to create a safe space for yourself and something positive in your life, and you move forward. We do that for dogs. All right. We delete all the bullshit and we create a safe path. We create clarity. We create a system where the dog can decompress in a crate and not be constantly harassed by children, et cetera, et cetera. Like, it's a whole huge picture, isn't it? It's not just stick a pill in. In that time frame, if that dog requires a little bit of zonk out and a little bit of peace to regroup, so be it. All right. But my grind is, if you're going to chuck a 4-month-old dog on that shit, sight unseen, and say that this is a life thing and that the dog mustn't get overstimulated and must be left in the backyard, that's when I want to commit murder. That's when I go, you're a piece of shit. You're just making money off these people. You're not actually advocating for the dog or the human in any way. And that is an extremist end, and we have one up here that is just a drug pusher on the corner, and she gets in with all the vets and puts the dogs on high levels, incredibly high levels, and that it is a forever thing. Now, when I did some back reading, because it had been a while since I dug into the whole medication thing, when it first sort of came out as a protocol for dealing with anxiety, dealing with overstimulation, et cetera, and those protocols were brought in because of deficiencies in environmental development, deficiencies in the training protocols, trauma, et cetera, and then they went, okay, all of these bad shit's happened or not happened, as the case may be, so we're going to bring this medication in. It was only supposed to happen for 4 weeks, 5 weeks, while the protocols were put in place to fill the gaps in the dog, and then it was weaned off and then moved forward. And that's what the baseline used to be. Now it is a life thing. And I don't know when it turned. It just seemed to get longer and 12 months, 18 months, 2 years. And now it's life on a lot of these dogs. And there's no readdressing of what the actual issues were. And the dog that I was talking about earlier, the big Mastiff one, she's now learning, because I said, I know this is going to be a difficult conversation to have with your vet, but you need to wean this dog off because it's dory. It comes to each class and it goes through the same trauma in its head, and it's not holding a thought because the medication's stopping the learning Like, it's keeping the dog in this awful loop. I said there's going to have to be a weaning off before new learning can occur, and that learning will stick so that the dog the next time will have an advancement instead of this stupid loop. And this is where trainers and vets really need to work hand in hand and have a good relationship with your vet and have good open conversation. But some vets you can't because, well, not the behaviourist vet that I deal with up here. She told us that dog trainers just teach a dog to sit and that we don't deal with behaviour. And she said that to our faces. And that's her opinion of us, that we just teach tricks. So there was no research done into what we do. You know what I mean? There's no. So now I have two vets that come to my class, and one's a grumpy old bloke and one's straight out of college kind of one.
But it's that kind of superiority, because they're like, I'm a doctor because I was a vet, and so I know more than you. And you're like, yeah, but you've never even held a leash. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? You don't know how to train dogs at all.
And this is where I think, if as trainers, if we've got it in the tank to develop relationship with, especially the newer vets coming through, like some of the oldies, they're trainable like any old handler, but they're less indoctrinated. You know what I mean? If we can get into them and have them as part of our classes of training a dog through, of having breakthroughs, having frustrations, having reality of handling a dog in a class situation, that then passes on to their clients. Like, I'm getting a lot of referrals now from this young vet because she goes, oh, no, it's an arsehole in the clinic. It really needs some help. I think you can help it. I'm like, cool, send it my way. I need the money. So it's a good reciprocal thing now. But before that vet was there, my cards were put in the bin. If I left cards there, they'd just get thrown in the bin because they had a purely positive trainer that did the puppy class there. So they hated me. And it's only because there's been a changeover of staff that I now have an entry into it. And sometimes you just have to be patient. You just have to wait out either the old pricks dying or the new ones coming through or people getting sacked or moving on. And then you have an entry, and then you've got a way of educating of, and it's not a Bible beating kind of moment. It's just a chipping away, giving information, showing progress in their clients' dogs, making it easier for them in clinic, making it safer for them in clinic, doing all of those things that us dog trainers do as a daily event, but making them aware that we do all of that stuff. We don't just teach a dog to sit.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, like, I have always said, and I'm pretty sure I'll stick to this for the rest of my life, but medication is just another tool. The same way that an electric collar or a slip lead is a training tool, medication is a temporary training tool to give the dog some relief, especially when you have extreme anxiety where the dog just cannot think, right? But we have the same down here. There's some witch down towards the Geelong area who recently put a 5-month-old working line Kelpie on medication for life. And we're talking 1,200 milligrams. And this dog was bred to work, and they are trying to crush it into becoming a pillow on the couch. And they think they're so self-righteous for doing it, whereas they are the absolute worst people on the planet.
And I find it hard to be forgiving of that kind of protocol. Like, I really struggle with my dark side on that because I find it a horrific injustice to the dog, to the genetics, and to the owner, financially, emotionally, et cetera, et cetera. They're taking that dog away from them. The dog's still there, but it's a numb unit. You know, it's a dead dog to me.
Well, the dog is just locked in a compartment in its own head, so drunk out of their mind that they can't even go for a walk properly.
I used to call it Planet Xanax when I was on it. I was on Xanax, Cipramil, Val, all of those kind of ones. And listen, it did the job. It kept me on this planet. Well, it kept me on this earth. It didn't keep me on this planet, I can tell you, because it was Planet Xanax. And I have massive gaps in my memory from back then. Like, it destroyed my brain. It really did. I have people come to me and go, oh, remember this, this, and this, and I go, no, big blank there. You know, he's gone. Gone, mate. He's gone. He's gone to Planet Xanax. And you know, again, the dog's got what, 10 good years?
Yep.
If we take 5 of those years away on Planet Xanax, what's the dog got? You know?
And that again, the dog gets to like 6, 7 years old and it stops being reactive and they say, hey, it worked. And I'm like, no, the dog's just so old he doesn't give a fuck anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got no way of tapping back into reality because he's living on another planet. And his brain is so fried and so dependent on the chemical now that there's not much left. There's no learning. There's no learning or fun or joy. And that's what I've like now. This Mastiff, when she will play tug in class, she looks up at her mum and she smiles and she's trying to please her mum now. She's trying to get that engagement from her mum. And I'm looking at the lady smile down at the dog and I'm thinking, holy shit, we've got joy back. But it needed a massive reduction. I'm not sure what dosage the dog's on now, but I'm hoping to get rid of it entirely. But that's, again, a discussion she has to have with her vet.
Of course.
Finally got to that point where reality's there and reality's cool instead of reality being scary.
Yeah. Now, this brings us on to another thing, because I know you've talked about this in the past, but CBD oils.
They're an interesting dabble. And they've brought through now the shroom stuff. So you've got the turkey tail, you've got all of the medical stuff. But they've also brought through psychedelics for humans. So are they going to bring through psychedelics for dogs? Who knows? Imagine a tripping dog.
Imagine a working line shepherd, tripping out and having a bad trip. Holy shit, that would be dangerous and scary.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be the psych in the room there. Well, in a bike suit, that'd be okay. So with the CBD, I've found it has aided and abetted a lot of the real broken unit sort of rescue dogs that are coming in to foster. They've never been crate trained. They've never had to be around other dogs. They've never had to cope with structure and stability, and they just need decompression time. They just need that time to just go to ground and just heal. You know what I mean? I found that the cookies work well, or the oil works well on them, that it just gives them time to teach them to rest deeply and to relax and to be less of that highly sensitized. You know how some dogs are just so sensitive to every noise, every movement. It's like their whole body's tingling with it, that they're reactive to everything and everyone. They can't bring it back in. I find it works really well on those dogs' nervous systems where they can just literally stone out for a while. Increase appetite. So a dog that's appetite is shut down because of high anxiety and now it's got a really rotten gut because it's eaten up with bile and it's not eating regularly. So then it's all its blood sugars are out and it's going into weird stuff then as far as health. That you can get small regular meals into the dog. You can add nutrition. You can add supplements. You could add pills and potions then because the dog's eating and ingesting instead of having to force feed. And then sometimes it's a post-operative tool where a very active dog has now had cruciate surgery and is supposed to have crate rest for 6 weeks and no exercise. You know what I mean? So sometimes rather than the gabapentins and stuff like that, half a cookie, all right? And that the dog will walk slowly on lead then and not be as pushy and not be as out of its skin because, hey, he's a happy little stoner in his crate, you know? I think there's just less knock-on effect from it as well in that there doesn't tend to become the intolerances to it or the side effects to it. But listen, some dogs do well on it. Some it has no effect. Others it has too much of an effect. Check for pulse. You know what I mean? So that's where you've got to sort of test like you would for any medication. You've got to sort of test it out and go, okay, how's this dog going on it? Is he going to get paranoid? Are we going to increase his anxiety? Or is he going to actually just stone out and be a happy little dude on the couch next to me watching telly while he recuperates or while he decompresses? Yeah. It has helped a lot of dogs over and it also helps with sundowners, I've found. So for dogs, it helps them sleep deeper and better, and there's less of that panicked sundowner walking pacing kind of stuff. It worked really well on Emmy because Emmy got really bad sundowners in that last 6 months.
And that's what happened with my boy Red as well before we decided to put him down. Well, with him as well, he started becoming aggressive towards the other dogs. It was like he didn't know where he was anymore. He was never dog friendly, but he was never really dog aggressive. But he actually started fights, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's a really good point that you said there with the appetite going up, because we do know that CBD, THD, pot, marijuana, whatever you want to call it, does actually create big cravings. And I would say probably 75% of dogs that I work with, any kind of reactivity, aggression issues, they will not take food. They won't take food out of the house. Okay, yeah, that's cool. Right. We are nearly done. I'm not going to keep you for too long.
No, I was fidgeting and I was wriggling and I was going, nah, this is going to be a floor mop.
Yeah. All right. But yeah, we'll cut this bit out and we'll get stuck back into it. But yeah, we're all good. What was I talking about? Yes, increasing food drive through CBD oil. So that's a very clever thing that I've never actually thought about myself. But
bonus for an anxious dog that finds it hard to engage and has really low motivation or appetite, and then all of a sudden it has appetite. So now you've got a little doorway open. You've got a little pathway where you can go, okay, hey, you want what I've got? Let's do a little luring. Let's do a little bit of scent work. Let's do a bit of find. Let's do a bit of food toy. Let's do a bit of all the other stuff that we can incorporate food into. Let's get you working with it for it, and then
and I think it's one of those things that a lot of people don't think about, but most dogs have to learn to think. They have to learn to learn. And it's it isn't just something that comes naturally installed into them. And
down too.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of the dogs, like when I've seen, from hoarding cases and that kind of stuff, these dogs, they don't have a functioning brain. Like you put a piece of food in front of them and they just look at you like, what the fuck do you want? Right? They've just never learned how to actually learn. And cracking them open, cracking that brain open and going like, hey, you can actually do stuff and good things can come out of it. And you watch them start to wag their tail a little bit and start using their nose a little bit. And you go like, finally, we're on the right path here.
Yeah. And it's opening those doors, isn't it? It's opening those doors in the brain where it could be pat, it could be play, it could be food, it could be scent, it could be whatever. But there's little doors crack open and the dog goes, shit, I had a fun day. I want to do more of that. So then you can have target odor, or you can have tracking, or you can have, hunt and find the human. You can do search and rescue. There's all these little doors that crack open. And if the dog shows like a true vocation for it and he goes, oh, fuck, I found my tribe. You know what I mean? That look on a dog's face, like Banshee with her herding, like a Rottweiler. It's like a B double out there. You see these Kelpies flashing past and there's dugun, of Banshee lumbering along, the grin on her face. Okay, the grin is ear to ear. Her tail is up. She's bounding. She's happy. She's just glowing with the shits and giggles of the whole thing, If you can provide that, or I'm just transport, all right? I drive her there and back. I just give her the opportunity to do this stuff. Her on a herding ball, okay, the same. Hey, I bought it for her. I got it delivered. She's the one who does it, what I mean? So sometimes there's stuff that you participate with your dog, and other times it's just giving them access to doing the behavior in a safe, structured way, isn't it? That you're providing them that moment of going, oh, I like that. Oh, shit, that was fun. Oh, can I do that again? And when you have that little moment, the dog looks at you and goes, holy hell, you never told me about this shit. Then you go, awesome. There's something that I can add to your week or your day or your year or whatever. It might only happen now and then, but it's still on your list of shit that you can do together or you can provide for.
And again, I do believe that absolutely every dog has a thing. A lot of them don't know what their thing is because they've never been exposed to it. They've never been taught how to think about it, whatever it may be. But every dog has a thing one way or another.
They do. And sometimes, like, some dogs have multiple hobbies. You know, they go from one hobby to the next, like some humans do. And others, it's just like a Kelpie, mate, sheep, 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 sheep. You know, oh, all right, I'll do ducks. Oh, I'll do cattle, sheep. You know what I mean? It's that thing in the middle that really rocks them. Others, like Banch dabbles. You know, she's got many things that she enjoys doing. Sometimes it's just, you know, giving me the shits, but that's okay. She's that kind of dog. And it's just, sometimes it's just gardening together or doing this together or doing that together or just going for a drive, you know. And I think if more dogs had an opportunity to be included and that was the baseline of owning it, that you included the dog like it used to be when we were a kid. That dog went bloody everywhere. It played cricket with us. It went out on the bike or the horse or whatever with us. I think if we can get back to that and lose this bullshit of, oh, your dog's aggressive, oh, it's anxious, it's got to stay in the backyard. If we can come back to this middle line where, why do we have a dog? Why did we buy it? We bought it to be part of the family, part of our lifestyle, to do stuff with, to enjoy for the short duration of its life. If we can come back to that and all the other shit fades, and I think we've come back to the 70s model of dog ownership.
And I think, like, I actually, like, when I see, you know, a lady with a young oodle standing outside of a school waiting for the kids to finish school, and you kind of go like, you're probably just going to be fine because you got to pick up, you drop off the kids every day, you pick them up every day, you probably go on weekend trips to sporting events, and you get to go all these places, get exposed to all of these things, and you are probably just going to be fine.
And that's and you smile, don't you? Like when I'm driving anywhere and I look across and I see a dog on a lead trotting along, big smile on its face, having a sniff, just being part of the process, or it's at the kids' footy, or it's at herding, or it's wherever. I think, dude, you've nailed it for a human. Like you have really nailed it for the right human. That they've got you for the right reasons. You know what I mean? They haven't got you to breed the arse out of you. They haven't got it as a status symbol. They haven't got it as a replacement penis, you know, that they haven't got it, you know, as a whimsy and now it's in the cupboard, you know, that kind of thing. And I'd like to see more dogs that just have that life, you know.
Yeah.
So many versions of it, you know. It doesn't have to be skydiving and shit like that. It can just be a normal, boring, pick the kids up from school. But it's still out there doing, you know.
Things, yeah. I think that is the perfect place to leave it because I think that sums up everything that we want as trainers for dogs and for their owners. Because when you have a dog that comes with you everywhere, that enjoys your company, that plays with you, that doesn't freak out every time they get put in a crate, you have a pretty good fucking member of the family, I would say.
And that's where, like little Kenneth, he's small enough to get into hotels. Because they won't take Rottweilers. So Banshee has to stay home. Tommy has to stay home. Kenny gets to come to Melbourne with us. You know what I mean? He's crate trained. He's toilet trained. He's awesome in the car. You can sit him on your lap. You can chuck him under your arm. You can whatever. And he's pretty bloody bomb-proof. Like he's only about 16 months, but he's pretty bloody bomb-proof. And it means that you can sort of just go anywhere with him. You know, throw him in the car and go. So, yeah, it'll be interesting because it'll be his first city visit.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. So
what a life. What a life for a dog. All right, my good friend Kylie, plug your stuff. Where can people find you? Talk. We haven't had a chance to talk about Bright's Bites now, but you can give us a little bit of an update on what that is. But yeah, how do people find you? Where can they buy some of your stuff? How can they follow you on social media? Whatever it may be, now's your opportunity to bring it to the world.
All right. So the website's the easiest, which is the W's DogSquad Canine Services.com.au, and that is spelt CANINE, not with a K and a 9. That will have contact number, that will have a email. That will also give you the goss on which of the social medias were hacked years ago and are non-operable, and which ones are operable, because it's a bit of a minefield because they're still live, but I have no way of pulling them down.
That's right. I remember that ordeal.
To give no fucks. Okay, so all my private information is still out there, but I have no control over it. That's okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so they're the ways of contacting me. So on that website, there is an articles page. Anyone is welcome to jump on, have a read. There is no pay-per-view. It is just open slather. Take what information you want. There's a bio on there, so if you want to pick through what I've done, I try to keep it updated, but there are gaps. But that's the basis of it. The Bright Bites started years ago because I got sick of the shit on the shelves. What the schmackos and that sort of stuff were doing to dogs. Talking facial paralysis, seizures, kidney shutdown, like some extreme stuff that was going on. So I started that dehydrated journey. So I've been doing that for about the last 8-9 years. And that is available off the shop, which is online. I do big discounts for people who want to on-sell. So there are coupons and that I can do for you. So if you want to buy it cheaper in bulk and then on sell, you're welcome to it. I'll just do up a big box and send it out. Yeah, the premise behind is, in a consult, you've got an hour and a half to make changes in that dog, and the shit in your pocket's got to be good. And I don't want to poison a dog. I don't want to bring toxins into it. So I am permaculture, so I am a real dead set barefoot hippie when you scratch the surface. So I grow all my own vegetables. So all the greens that go through my brownies, as in brassicas, kale, etc., they are all organically grown. Property. There is no spray, there is no chemical, there's no glypho, there's no pesticide, etc. The eggs are laid here by my chickens. Again, no chemical. The meat is bought locally from my butcher, which is grown locally. So if you're looking at food miles and sustainability and all that wank side of stuff, then I tick all those boxes. And it's all grown, created, cooked, dehydrated, packaged here. So there is nothing offshore at all. Yeah.
From farm to plate, basically, as they call it.
Bios post to whoever across Australia. I don't sell overseas because it is a meat product and it is an absolute nightmare to negotiate import stuff. So just keep it to Australia.
Yep.
And yeah, I can post anywhere there. I make my own leads. I make my own slips. I make my own pain salves, oils, etc., as well. I'm going to be dabbling in tallow as well soon. I'm just educating myself on that.
In what, sorry?
Tallows. So as in balms with a tallow base.
Oh, okay.
What I'm trying to recreate is something that was taken off the market for itchy scratchy. So there used to be a product that you could get from the chemist. The manufacturer no longer makes it. It was the one really decent product for skin allergies on dogs through summer, the summer itch kind of stuff. And it was magnificent, taking it off the bloody market. So I'm trying to recreate that with the help of a local chemist who does that sort of end of chemistry.
Yep.
So if I can produce something that's reliable in that, then I'll have that for sale as well, because for Staffords going through summer, they're always going to get grass itch, etc., even if they're raw fed. So if I can create something like that, then I can fill that hole. Because I used to just, give the brand and say, go to your chemist and get this. Can't do it anymore. So
yeah, fair enough.
That's my idea, and that if I can fill in the health gaps, the feed gaps, the treat gaps, the gear gaps, and make it easier for my clients. I also carry a crate of toys on board for sale. So I use Aussie Dog, Kong, the stuff from Canine Quip. I carry their martingales. I carry their flirts, that kind of stuff. So I try to do Aussie. I try to help small business. I try to, network with small business as well. Yeah, and they do the same for me. It's got to be reciprocal. We've got to help each other.
Oh, absolutely. And I know I haven't bought Bright Bites for a long time because I just am so bad at planning ahead. I never just get my ass around it. But I have to get better at that. Now,
it's food as well, and that's that thing where if it doesn't work for someone, it doesn't work. That's fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's the thing, because I use food until it's out and I go, shit, I've got another job tomorrow. I just have to go and get something.
Well, this dehydrated stuff can last years on the shelf. You know what I mean? It's not relying on moisture or being refrigerated or being frozen, and it doesn't rely on chemicals. It's just the dehydration process. So it means that you can leave it in your car if you need to. Or you can just fill a pocket before you leave, and it's always fresh, so to speak.
Yep.
And that you don't have your run out thing. Like a couple of brownies is enough to last the whole consult because you crumble it down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Very economical. Very economical.
Beautiful. All right. Well, thank you so much, Kylie, for jumping on and having a chat. I will say, because I forgot to say this at the beginning, it took me nearly 6 months to harass you and weigh you down to actually get you on the podcast, but we got there in the end. So to everyone listening to this, be persistent. You will get there in the end. Thank you so much, Kylie, and always love chatting to you, and I can't wait for the next one.
No worries. I'm going to have to catch up on your other ones too, because like I said, I'm a bit of a hermit, so I'm going to have to go back through your library and catch up on yours.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Well, they're going to be there probably forever or until the world blows up or Spotify dies and gets taken over by AI or something like that.
The Terminator comes through and we're all done.
Exactly. All right. Thank you so much. And to everyone listening, you know what I'm going to say next. Now go train your fucking dogs.
No worries. Thanks, mate.
Goodbye.
Cheers.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Beastly Talks. I hope you found it interesting and that you'll join me for the next one as well. If you like this podcast, please take a moment to rate and review it so that more people can hear about it. Or if you think this particular episode would benefit a family member, friend or colleague, be sure to share it with them directly. You can follow me on social media at Viking Dog Trainer on Facebook, Instagram and YouTube. Thank you for your support and keep training your dog.